Oh. Hi, everyone.
Megan can't. I think so. It's not doing anything.
Oh, but you're going here too.
That's stuff. Yeah, you have to keep this stuff, you know?
Are you? I don't want to.
You have to go.
You-
You have to exercise.
Doesn't work. We don't.
But if you don't stop the video, control. Just tell me. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
I guess-
Hi, Kate. Hi, Gracia. Almost called you by your last name.
Happens all the time.
I'm tired.
Amen.
That better?
So Gracia, do you see if everyone looks like they're here?
Not, I mean, there's a few people signing in right now that I know are coming in. I see Carolyn and Bill. Oh, they could be here. They just have the camera turned off.
This changes.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, here comes some more people. I just saw more come in.
Hi, Lauren.
I'll come to. Are you in there now? Okay.
Hi, Bill.
Hi. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Hi, Bill. Long time no see.
Hi.
We got a few Haiti people in the room here. I think, I just can't tell who that plain iPhone is. Does anybody know who that is?
I do not.
They're muted. Let's see if I can unmute them.
Because it's okay to have your camera off, but I need to know who you are so I can say you're here, you know?
I asked them to unmute themselves, but it's not doing anything.
Maybe throughout it, we could just figure out who it is so I can make sure. Oh, I got it. My friend Erica, she just texted me saying it's her. She's just driving and didn't want to be late, so she's listening in. Got it. Thanks, Erica. All right, I think we should be good then. We can start whenever you want to start.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle, and Lauren has joined me from IHN as well. I'm the program director at IHN, and Lauren is the development director. We have a lot to cover, so I'm trying to make sure I find the time for everything. I'm just going to ask that everyone tries to hold their questions till the end, and I will be sure to try and answer all of your questions. I find that most times the questions get answered before they're even asked, so it just makes it a little bit faster. And I apologize, this is my first time hosting a Zoom, so bear with me.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm gonna just jump right into it. So a little bit about IHN. IHN is a congregate shelter that it's a community-based shelter for people who get denied through DHCD. So DHCD controls 95% of the shelter beds in the state of Massachusetts. People get in 10 times faster through them, and there's a lot of income requirements, a lot of requirements to get into their shelters. With that being said, for all the ones who get denied, they are able to get on our waiting list, which is extremely long, to get into our shelter. We do not discriminate on family type. So if it's a mom and dad with children, single mom, single dad, aunt who has custody of children, a grandmother who has custody of her grandkids, or even same-sex partners, we do not discriminate against anyone who is in need of shelter as long as they have children under the age of 18 and they are struggling and can prove that they are homeless. What considers someone homeless can be many, many things. They could be living in a hotel and can no longer afford it because they were evicted from an apartment. An eviction could be a reason. They could even be doubled up and living with family members, but they cannot stay any longer because maybe that person has Section 8, or maybe even that person just doesn't really want to have them in their home anymore, and it's too crowded and it's too much. So there's a lot of criterias to get someone into shelter, and IHN is just a little different in that regards. How our congregations help us. We have 26 different congregations, including St. Patrick's, on board at IHN. If it weren't for the congregations, we would struggle financially. We would struggle in many different ways. The reason why we would struggle so much is then we would have to pay for staff from 6 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. where volunteers where they're covering either the evening shift or the overnight shift. So that is definitely a different setup compared to most shelters. You get to spend time with the families in a normal non-COVID world, and hang out with them and do crafts with them and eat dinner with them, and they really enjoy that. So hopefully this will be behind us soon and we can get back to normal, because to me, I gotta say the volunteers more enjoy that better than anything else that they do for IHN. They really just enjoy spending time with the families. Gracia, sorry, I'm gonna call you Casey all night long. Gracia loves spending time with the families, and she can vouch for how much she just really enjoys volunteering at IHN. So part of volunteering, let's talk about what that looks like. Volunteering would be coming in at 5:30 to relieve the staff that is on duty, no matter what night of the week it is. and you would either come in through the front entrance or the back entrance by ringing the doorbell. You should be greeted by staff. Sometimes you will find that the guests answer the door, but they should ask you to wait and go and get staff, because they need to know that this person's being expected. And then you'll be led to the office, the director's office, to go over who's in the house, who's at work, when people are expected to be home. Curfew is at 6 p.m. for the families. It is not your job to make sure that they're abiding by any of these rules like the curfew. However, if you notice that someone is not in by the time they're supposed to be, or not following one of the rules, just write a note in the back of the book, because we do want to know. We want to make sure that they are abiding by the rules that they signed off to agree. We have 4 families right now, very, very well behaved families that get along extremely well. They are all in crisis of some kind, and that's what brought them to us. And it's our goal and our job to nurture them and love them back to life, and just give them that opportunity and the skills that they need to be able to just build upon that and create a better life for themselves and their families. One of the things I get from this the most is to see them just succeed. And once I see that success and they're in their own place, or they've gotten their first ever job because they've never worked before, and they dropped out of school really young and they got their high set, those things are extreme rewards for me, and I can't even imagine how it would feel for them. It must be the biggest reward for them. We have 4 families, but we can hold 6 families. COVID's kind of has me a little hesitant in going to full capacity. It's a little hard. Not only that, we do have strict guidelines on who we take in. So we do not take in anyone with severe drug addiction unless they have a decent amount of clean time. We do not take in people who have a history of being domestic violence abusers. So say the father ended up somehow getting custody of the child, but yet he was abusing the mom, and he has this history of being an abuser. It's not likely that we'd be too quick to want to help without hearing more of his story. Our goal is to keep all of our families safe, all of our volunteers safe, and our staff safe. We can take families that are not legally documented, as long as they have some type of, so the child was born in the United States, the child's enrolled in school, and they're close to getting their documentation. But for people who are illegal immigrants, I guess you would say, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to get them on a housing list. It's kind of hard to get them a job. It's kind of hard to help them get some of those things. It's easy to get them medical benefits, but then if they can't get food stamps, then who's feeding them, and who's helping them with all those additional financial supports that they need? Eventually, with only 1 year allowed into the program, then you're putting them back out on the streets again. So we kind of try to steer away from those unless there's some legal help already for that family to help them become legal. We do not take any active domestic violence cases unless the abuser is far away and they are nowhere close to Worcester. If they are close to Worcester, we try to stay away from that. Once again, that goes to the safety. We would like to try our best to keep everyone safe. while families are in our program, they are expected to save 75% of their income to be able to pay first, last, and security and move on into their own place. They have up to a year in our program, but we don't tell them that. We tell them they have 6 to 9 months, because if you tell someone they have a year, most people that are already in crisis, they become complacent and they get comfortable, and I find that they just don't work so hard until the very end. Like, oh, I have this much more time, and I have that much more time. I can wait to do that. And it gets difficult for the case manager to be able to work with them. We are a dry shelter. We do not permit any alcohol or drug use at all. Marijuana is legal, and alcohol for people 21 and over is legal, but not at IHN. You cannot use it while you are staying at IHN. So they know this, and it really, really helps us. Our primary goal is to assist families in having a stable place to stay, and by providing them housing and the necessary skills to say they need help with job search, or if they need help with resume building. We provide classes to our families for these skills. We've seen quite a bit of success. We had a mom once who moved here from Puerto Rico, dropped out of school when she was in 7th grade, and had not really any education. We set her up with ESL classes outside of IHN. She got her high set, and then she moved on and got a job, and that all happened within 8 months of her stay at IHN. So that was quite the success story. Sorry, I'm really trying to get through this and not miss anything. The role of the volunteer. Volunteer's role is to serve but not solve. So in other words, you're there to serve, and your purpose is to kind of be a person to listen if they need you. But if they're struggling with something and you find that they're in crisis and that they're dealing with something, we just ask that you let us know, so this way we can deal with the situation, whatever it may be. And if you do have some input or an idea, we do want to hear it, because sometimes hearing someone else's resource is another resource that we can add to our list. We do have a confidentiality policy that we ask volunteers to sign when the volunteers volunteer for their very first time. It just states that you're not going to share any personal information of the families, their name. You're not going to take any pictures or videos. Gracia, you have all these documents, correct? Okay.
Yes, and I emailed them to everybody this morning, so everybody should have them in their email.
Thank you. We do have a hospitality code as well. So basically that just talks about, it's nice to hear your name, so learn the names of the guests, because they're people too, and they should be treated just the same as anyone else. I mean, they're working moms and dads, and they're just trying to get by, and anyone can become homeless. I've been homeless myself, and that's what brought me to where I am today, working for families and helping them get out of the crisis that they're in. Everyone, some point in our lives, we just need a hand up. Labeling people creates invisible barriers. So we just ask that, you know, people don't get labeled as like the homeless people. When I was, I don't know, I want to say back in the late 80s, I was a teenager, and I used to think that a homeless person was the hobo on the street with the dirty clothes. And just the person holding a sign saying, hey, I need food, or I need help. And or a drunken person who was an alcoholic that didn't have a place to live. I had no idea that being homeless required so much more, that it could be a family, it could be someone with children, they just lost their job, or somebody got stricken ill and then they couldn't work anymore. Now they're collecting disability and they're just trying to find a way to get by, to be able to pay the outrageous rents that we're seeing these days. For a 3-bedroom right now in the city of Worcester, you are looking at $1,400 to $1,800 a month. I'm a renter and I pay almost $1,400 a month. So I can't imagine how the families who are living at IHN make less money than I do would even get by paying a rent like that. It's insane. We do talk about on here a little bit about privacy. So we usually ask that volunteers try to just avoid families' rooms as much as possible. I mean, knocking on the door because you need them for something is one thing, but it just helps everyone to avoid any issues. It helps avoiding being accused of going in their room without their permission, being accused of anything, you know, I don't know, anything. It's tough. I tell the families, you know, that's your sacred place. If you need a place to go and get away from everyone, that's your place. That's your home. And no one should enter it without their permission. I don't even go in there without their permission. I have the right to, but I choose not to. I feel like that's their privacy and they deserve it. Sometimes we'd like to keep things to ourselves, and so we ask that the guests, that we don't ask them questions, but if they're willing to share their story with you, then they must see something in you, and they must say, you know what, this person is like the perfect person to talk to, and I can share my story with them, and then you can give advice, and you can, you know, maybe even at times they might say, hey, can you pray with me? I'm a spiritual person and I really need someone to pray with me. We don't prophesize at IHN. I know I didn't say that right. Prophesize, right? I see you smiling, Lauren. But there is nothing wrong. Thank you.
This is why we're a good team, Michelle.
There's nothing wrong with praying with people, though, if they ask you to. We also ask that if people feel like they would like to grace the dinner meal and give a blessing at the dinner meal, they are more than welcome, because that kind of creates good habits for the children and for the families, and that's kind of the sneaky way around it without saying, you know, hey, I believe in God and I think, you know, you should come to my church. But they might want to go to your church. But where you're kind of like, hey, let's give grace. Let's thank him for our food. And then that's your shoe in to find out who is interested in knowing more about God and knowing more about your congregation. I go to church myself, and I find that that's an easy way to get people talking. We all have bad days. So if their face shows it, you're going to kind of maybe ask them if they're okay or stay away, depending on how bad they look. They look like they're not a person who's going to be happy to talk about it. But sometimes they just need a person to give them an ear and listen. Or sometimes they'll shut themselves in their room because it's summertime and there's an air conditioner in there, and they just want to stay cool and maybe they're not upset. So please don't ever think it's you. That's just what they do. We understand and care for our children. So I have a bad habit of this. I will pick up anybody's child. I don't care whose child it is. I love kids. Love, love, love them. I have a bad habit of saying, oh, I'll help you. Oh, let me hold her. Oh, she's beautiful. I have to learn to step back sometimes and read the body language of the parent and see if they're okay with it. But I do have a bad habit of trying to parent other people's children too. I think that's just the mom in me. So you'll just have to pick up on those cues and just be mindful to ask the parents' permission before giving them a piece of candy or letting them sit on your lap while you read them a book, because some parents don't care and other parents don't allow it. So you never know what you're getting. Sometimes parents need a break, and they love it when the volunteers come in with a craft or something to do and spend time with their children. And they like to be, the adults like to be treated like adults. I can't tell you how many times, even in house meeting, well, they'll say, you know, I'm not a child. I get it. You don't have to say it like that. Well, I try my best not to. Sometimes it just comes across that way, and then I have to step back myself and even say, oh, wait, what did I say that made her say that? So we don't really realize how we're acting ourselves. They like to know your name too. So if you're telling them, if you're calling them by their name, you can introduce yourself and say, hi, my name is Janet. Nice to meet you. You know, I'm a school teacher. You don't have to give out a lot of information, but you can say, you know, if one of your children are struggling and need help with math homework, I can help. That's just your way of getting involved with the families and getting to know them, and them getting to know you a little bit more on a personal level, but not too personal. Okay, hosting. Normally when you come in to volunteer, the person that you are relieving will go over the books with you in the office. They will go over the fire alarm and the fire evacuation plan with you. They will go over the families with you. They will go over what's expected of you. So right now, we're asking volunteers to kind of just hang out in the office. However, if it's a nice day outside and you want to go outside and hang out with the families, that's where it's easier to right now during COVID, because fresh air, more space, more time, more ability to hang out with the families a little bit. They'll go over the smoking policy with you. Families can sit out back at the table and smoke until 9 p.m. We have 4 smokers right now, so they are outside quite a bit. They will ring the doorbell to get back in when they're done, because the door locks automatically when they shut it. It's important to know the program rules, so this way if you find that someone is not abiding by the rules, that you can report it. It's also important to use your best judgment. So if you find that something doesn't set well with you, call me. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm easily available and I will come right away. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Gracia, can you think of anything during your time volunteering that you have come across, or something that you think would be vital for everyone to hear?
I think right now the things that I would do is, when you show up there, kind of bring something for yourselves to do. Because when you're sitting in that room, it does go by slowly, especially if you're doing a back-to-back shift, like Meg and I have done a few times. You know, we'll bring like board games, or what else? Coloring. We've done stupid things. Pretty much anything just to keep us busy. It does make the time go by very fast. And then the guests have said things like, oh, what game are you playing? Like they'll come up to the door and start like, just peeking in like, oh, what are you doing in there? The only other things you really do is hand out Band-Aids, which the first aid kits are in there. There's toilet paper, paper towels, pretty much anything they could need in that area. But if you don't know where it is, they'll point to it and say, they keep it in that bin, they keep it in that bin. They're pretty great. For the first time, I actually got to hang out with them the last time I was there, and that was pretty nice. I did a pizza party out in the back yard. There's, like you said, 2 picnic tables, and we just hung out there and got to know each other a little better, which was nice because we'd gone so many times and done nothing. It was nice to kind of start putting some names, because you can read them on paper, but I'm not going to memorize them until I look in your eyes, What else? Can you think of anything?
You've never been.
No. We run in and out for the bells. The thing that always makes me is that the front door or the back door, and one of us will go each way.
So the front door has like just a ding ding, like the old microwaves where you turn the knob and then it dings when it's done.
Yeah.
That is definitely an equivalent to that, I have to say, for the noise. And then the front one is a loud ding dong. So that's kind of how I differentiate them. But sometimes I don't hear that back doorbell at all.
Yeah. And then, bring yourself something to drink so you can hang out in there. We always bring a water bottle. If you're sleeping overnight, they are little twin cots, so you can bring either sheets to put on them, or I usually bring one comforter for the bottom and then one comforter for myself, because I found the sleeping bag was too hot. I just couldn't sleep. I guess my sleeping bag's too nice, but it was brutal.
Good tip.
I was sweating.
I do have, so I just got a notice that we have 10 minutes left.
Excellent.
I would like to give everyone a chance to ask any questions that they have.
Michelle, what are the specific COVID-19 restrictions around face masks and that sort of thing in the house?
Okay, so all the families are being asked to wear their mask if they are within 6 feet of anyone, whether it's another guest, whether it's a volunteer, whether it's staff. They have forgotten their masks time and time again, but I ask that there's a note in the back of the book that says, Joe forgot his mask, and when I answered the back door, he did not have it on. Because I need to be able to keep reminding the people that are forgetting them. Because this is their home, they tend to forget a little bit. Just like when we're at home, we don't wear our masks. So we're working on those good habits. Hand washing is very important, and the house is being cleaned 3 times a day from top to bottom. Every single floor, my office especially, because there's so many people in and out of it, and that's where the volunteers sleep and spend most of their time.
And what about meals as far as COVID related stuff? Like how close can people sit together, and do they know the routine? Or
so we have the dining room upstairs has 3 tables, and then there's a table in the kitchen on the 2nd floor too. So we have a family at each table.
I also want to bring up, when you walk in for your shift, they're going to take your temperature.
Oh yes,
And
thank you.
then so when someone relieves you, you take their temperature. So that is also another COVID part. And if you're sleeping there, you have to wash the mattress before and after you slept on it.
There's Clorox wipes to wipe them down, because they have these zipper things over them that are plastic just to preserve the mattress.
So if you're working the 5:30 shift and the folks come in with the meals, they'll set that up separate from you?
So the volunteers don't normally go up and eat with them right now.
Okay.
They would serve themselves and then bring the food back down for themselves. Only just until COVID's done.
And there's usually a family that's in charge of the dinner that night, Fred, and they're like waiting downstairs by the door. They're really good about it. They're waiting for the food and they bring it up. So you don't really have any part of that, right now. Obviously later we'll eat dinner with them and have a nice meal, but not right now.
Yeah, I think our church has been doing it a little bit differently because a lot of people don't want to actually go there during COVID, so they're volunteering to cook food. But when I volunteered with a different church, it was whoever volunteered for the dinner shift brought the dinner. So it was like you showed up with the food. But our church is doing it different just because some people wanted to participate without being there.
Has there been a situation where people didn't show up with the dinner?
Have shown up with the dinner?
Like people were scheduled but didn't bring it?
Very rare, very, very rare. It has happened on occasion, or myself even have gotten the nights confused. So the families would have to like hurry up and figure it out. Or if I didn't get enough notice, then we're ordering them some pizza.
Okay.
We always figure it out. I've cooked for them one night when dinner didn't show up because I was the one who messed up.
And if you're there in the morning on the weekends, some of them get up and Sharon says that sometimes she's brought like French toast sticks and stuff for Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings because it's just a nice thing to wake up to a nice breakfast as well. So, I mean, for those people who end up doing some of those shifts later, you're there till 8:30 on the weekends. So that is, you have enough time to get up in the morning and make breakfast. So that's an option to add on if we ever want to. We don't have to, that's not required, but it just sounds like something nice.
Any other questions from anyone else?
I think the only question I have is for Gracia and sort of our team and our schedules, and if we have enough people, and are we going to have sort of another off-site kind of thing or another Zoom meeting for just our group to kind of figure that out?
Yes, I've been putting together the schedule together for everything. We do have quite a few holes. Christine, since your availability was a little open, I was kind of waiting to see what other people were filling in first.
Okay, no problem.
And then I was going to tell you, because me and Megan are both pretty open too, so I'm going to fill in me, you, Meg, and my son is here too, so we have another one. Smile, Michael.
Hey, Michael.
So our schedules are pretty wide open, so I figure we can fill in the holes where everybody else is more limited in their availability. And then we're going to have another meeting definitely because we did really well. We just got another $1,000 donation today.
Oh.
For the cash. So the cash flow is going really well. We're just us speaking at Mass. Right, Fred?
You're very persuasive.
I couldn't, when I saw that 1,000 come through today, I was like, thank
Maybe
God,
it's because of that video though, because that video that Father Tomas did was amazing. Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. I will
He
have
wants
to
me
say
and Fred
that
to do
like
one
almost
there.
teared me up.
He wants me and Fred to do one there so that it's like in front of the house. So Fred,
Oh,
that's something
yes.
later in life that he
Even
wants us to do.
even in my office, you're more than welcome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lauren has a question. Go ahead, Lauren.
Yes.
Actually, it's just, thank you for giving me the floor here for a moment. I just wanted to formally introduce myself, and this is a good opportunity to do it when we're talking about communications and what really gets people to donate. And so as the development director, that's what I think about. And what you guys have done in that video and being here on the Zoom is, you know, I couldn't ask for anything better to than to work with an organization that has people that do the things that you have done. I know our time is running down. I'm very, very new with the organization, and I will say that my experience has been amazing at the house and but then, you know, with all the volunteers. So I would love to reach out to you separately. I'm going to say goodbye now, but keep up the great work. I look forward to getting to know you all.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Gracia, do you want to share where we are with the food situation?
The food, we're all set. We actually had too many people volunteer for food, which is great. So Marianne has now put people like on a wait list for next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We had a lot of elderly that just are not comfortable, but they're, you know, very excited to cook. We had one woman who wants to make dessert for the whole week, so she's just making desserts.
Awesome.
which is great. You know,
We have a
something.
great parish. We have a great parish.
Mhm. And just to share with the group, Michelle, my wife and I left the building and dropped off all the stuff from the shelter we had in our parish center. So we had about 10 bits of clothing, pillows, and blankets that we brought up to the house because we're not going to open our emergency shelter this year. With all that's going on with COVID,